What's up, guys? We're back with another Who Were They Wednesday, and this week we are going to cover one of the most notable characters from the Bible, Moses. Now, when you hear the name Moses, what comes to mind? Is it the baby floating in the basket on the Nile? A burning bush that wouldn't burn out? A sea split in two? Moses' story is one of the most remarkable accounts in all of Scripture. From a child marked for death to a man chosen to deliver a nation. Wow. Moses was born at a time when Pharaoh had commanded all of the Hebrew baby boys to be killed, but his mother remarkably managed to hide him for 3 months. Then she places him in the basket along the river, trusting God with his life. And then of all people to find baby Moses, it's Pharaoh's daughter who picks him up out of the river, raises him as her own child, the entire time unknowingly preparing him for his future position in Pharaoh's courts. Moses grew up with privilege, but the entire time his heart remained tied to his people. One day, Moses saw an Egyptian beating a Hebrew slave. In his anger, he killed the Egyptian. Then, fearing for his life, he fled into the wilderness. While he was there, in obscurity, he meets God. And how does he meet him? Through a bush that was burned, but not consumed. God then called Moses to return to Egypt and deliver his people from bondage. At first, Moses resisted. He doubted his own ability to speak, and he questioned whether anyone would take him serious and believe what he had to say. But of course we know, right? God doesn't call the qualified. He qualifies the called. So Moses then returns to Egypt, stood before Pharaoh, and with God's power working through him, witnessed 10 miraculous plagues that shook the nation of Egypt to its core. And finally, Pharaoh decides it would be best to let God's people go. Moses then leads the Israelites out of slavery, and when they reach the Red Sea, with Pharaoh's army close behind, God then performs another miracle, parting the waters through the outstretched staff of Moses. They walked across on dry ground, delivered not by their own strength, but by God's. So the truth is, Moses, he was no perfect man. He struggled with anger and doubt. He struck the rock when God told him to speak to it. And because of this, he didn't get to enter the promised land himself. But his faith and obedience made him one of the greatest biblical leaders in history. God used Moses to lead his people out of Egypt, to deliver the 10 Commandments, to intercede on behalf of Israel when they were in rebellion, and to establish God's covenant with his chosen people. And Scripture tells us this about Moses. Since then, no prophet has risen in Israel like Moses, whom the Lord knew face to face. Deuteronomy chapter 34, verse 10. The life of Moses reminds us that God can use anyone, even someone who doubts, runs, or feels unworthy, to accomplish his divine purpose. When God calls, your pre-existing circumstances don't disqualify you. If you're willing to be faithful and obedient, he will always lead you to your greatest purpose. This has been Blindly Obvious. If you like what you've heard, please follow, subscribe, and share the word. Peace, love, and God bless. Remember, the eyes mean nothing if the mind is blind.